In this video, I'm going to talk about something that I reflected on today, which is an important lesson and an important value for an HVAC tech to have, especially for those young HVAC techs out there.
This video is brought to you by Yellow Jacket.
Today, I talked to my father. Today is his birthday. He is 77 years old. He was born all the way back in 1947, and it's hard to believe that it goes way back to the 1940s. His experience and knowledge goes back decades and decades. And on the phone, through the course of our conversation, he happened to give me a rundown of where he's worked in his entire life since being married, anyway, to my mother. So for the last 50 years, he's worked at various places. He explained what he did. He explained some of the training he got, including going to Linux training and train training, a little repetition there, back when he worked at a sheet metal shop back in Hickory, North Carolina. It was interesting to hear his story because a lot of it I wasn't aware of. A lot of the interim jobs, he worked maybe 3 or 4 years somewhere, then moved somewhere else. He moved down here to Wilmington and moved back to Hickory. And it was interesting to hear what he did and how he did it. He explained a little bit more about how he opened his business in 1989, the HVAC business that I worked in for about 15 years exclusively, and then off and on after that doing jobs as needed for him. So it gave me a great insight into business ownership and just the career of a man in general. Just happened to be my father. And that experience was invaluable. And I never really thought about it until today for some reason. Listening to what experienced people have to say about their lives can teach us a great deal. And it's not just listening to them word for word, it's the questions that arise during the conversation. When he started his business, how did he do that? That branches the conversation off into more valuable information about what you might use one day. Because even though times change, technology advances, the core values and the core principles of both ownership and HVAC at large remain the same. No matter how many electronic boards are on a unit, it's still performing the same rudimentary task, pumping refrigerant, evaporating in the coil, getting a little superheat, coming back. A lot of it's the exact same, no matter how many bells or whistles are on it. In fact, it's interesting to think about it. It's almost funny because the units really haven't changed in their basic design over the last, I don't know how long it's been, but maybe the better part of 100 years. The principle remains the same. We fine-tune it, we make it more efficient, but the core principle remains the same. And that's why listening to those with experience is important. Because the core principle doesn't change, they have a long, extended history dealing with those core principles, fixing, installing, all those things. So if you have a mentor, think about that. Use his knowledge, absorb his or her knowledge. Because a lot of times now we have women in the trade. And although they weren't as predominant maybe 50 years ago, as time goes by, those women will also have a wealth of experience from years on the job. In fact, they may have a different perspective than the men do just based on the way they look at the job, how they troubleshoot, and how they install. So it's good to soak up as many different points of views as possible because that will get you prepared for your career and make you successful. I know a lot of us are exposed to not get-rich schemes, but the things that say this is instant success. You know, do this and you'll get 1,000 leads. Use this service, do this or do that. But practicing and fine-tuning those core principles are what give you longevity in the trade. Because what I found is people who follow the sort of instant gratification style sequences, they may have a sharp rise, but they have a sharp fall and another sharp rise, and it gets to be just tumultuous going after all those little brass rings over and over again. Stay grounded, stick to the core, and expand out from there. Don't leave it out to try to chase something else. Listen to what the older people have to say, value what they have to say, and value them in general. Because if you blow them off because you think you are better than them and smarter than them, then you will lose something that you could have had, something that could have made you better, more successful, and more satisfied in your HVAC career. I hope this hits home with you guys and gals out there. You're able to use that information. If you have something you'd like to share in the comments about experiences you've had that might help other people, or any questions you have about this video, feel free to do so. A lot of times we do giveaways. Even though we don't have a giveaway going on right now, I may use the comments from this video in the future if we have one toward the end of the month. So feel free to comment, like the video, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one. God bless each and every one of you.
Save 8% off your order at TruTechTools.com by using the Shop Talk discount code.